All right. Hey there, guys. This is I Am a Wizard on MTGO in round one, game two of this daily with Blue Red Depletion Landstorm. And I'm actually recording over the top of the replay because I bumped my microphone cord and didn't record the audio. As much as I like to make fun of all of the people who do that on like Star City or Channel Fireball, it happens apparently even to the best of us, like myself. So, just to kind of recap, if no one saw it at the end, my sideboarding was just taking out 3 Pyretic Rituals and putting in 3 Gigadrows. Because, looking at my opponent's list, the only things I really need to worry about in this next game are Holy Light. And there is Prismatic Strands as well, and it's just going to function as a bit of a fog. He potentially gets to eat some of my guys, though, if I walk into a Prismatic Strand, so kind of have to be careful there. Bringing in Gigadrows works pretty well because it means I just need to make him tap down to where he only has, let's say, 2 mana available. Because, I mean, all these other spells are going to cost 3. But then if he floats the mana in response and, is going to plan to Prismatic Strands me out that way by just tapping a white creature and flashing it back, all of my other Gigadrow's replicated copies, I just target all of his white creatures. So it does double duty. It makes it so he can't flash it back, and it also makes it so he has fewer blockers. So it's very, very awesome. Anyways, going on to the game. I accidentally had it start up with game 1. So, yeah, quit that, go back to this, double-click on myself. And there's game 2. Okay. I was wondering why there were dice there. I was like, why are we rolling? So let's go ahead and take a look at this hand because I think it's pretty interesting. In this hand, I have a Depletion Land, a Ponder, an Impulse, and, some rituals, and then the 2 parts of the combo, Bushwhacker and Empty the Warrens. It's really, really hard for me to beat someone who has Holy Light and Prismatic Strands in the deck if I don't have Goblin Bushwhacker to go along with it. So normally in games 2 and 3, I picture the combo is not just, a bunch of rituals and then these 2 real cards, Bushwhacker and Empty the Warrens. I really picture it as more of a 3-card combo, really. It's Empty the Warrens, Bushwhacker, and then plus Gigadrows or plus Dispel or something like that, whatever I've sided in. So anyways, here's this opener. I think it's perfectly fine. Since I have a land to play on turn 1, it's something where it's going to come into play tapped, so I'm going to have another draw step from that. Then also I have the Ponder to potentially let me see another 4 cards. Really the ideal scenario is that, I'm going to find some other depletion land, Hopefully I'm going to be finding a Sandstone Needle. That would kind of be like the ideal. Otherwise, if I don't find that, even just finding like a regular mountain or a Lotus Petal is going to go a long way as well. Because this hand can currently, by itself, make 4 mana. 1, 2, 3, and 4 right there. So if I find Lotus Petal, that gets me to 5. And, 1 more ritual, and I'm in business. So I keep this hand. I think it's perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and play it out. He plays a Glimmer Post. Awesome. I go ahead and throw that out there. This is a really unfortunate draw. I just kind of want to underline that. The second Empty the Warrens that you draw, honestly, is most often a dead card. Unless it's in like very specific matchups like Mono Black Control in games 2 and 3 when they're siding in a whole ton of, duress and distress and things like that. So right now, though, this is a pretty miserable draw. It's basically a blank. So he plays a Falcon. Awesome. And I actually draw another Empty the Warrens. Yeah, that's essentially another dead draw for me. So I would just kind of like to note that those are basically blank cards. So I'm still running on my opening 7, essentially. So I go ahead and cast the Impulse. And the reasoning being is, after thinking about it a bit more, I mean, Impulse and Ponder, they're both going to allow me to see 4 cards. But Impulse is one where it's going to allow me to go ahead and move forward with, like, finding a card, finding that Sandstone Needle. But also making it so that the turn I go off, I could potentially still cast a Ponder and just get there on that same turn where, like, let's say next turn I'm going to go ahead and cast Ponder and I'll have that just extra mana available, because right now, next turn when I untap, assuming that I was going to find, this depletion land, this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So that gives me kind of like 1 mana leeway. And with this deck, when I'm just trying to get to as high a storm count as possible, it is perfectly defensible to go ahead and just run a Ponder out there, even though it would leave you with only 5 mana possible available that turn. Because when you're looking at 4 potential cards that you could be drawing, it's pretty likely you're going to hit something that could become a mana source. It's very likely you're going to be able to hit, a Lotus Petal that turn, or, one of the many rituals that are still left in the deck. So anyways, I go ahead and I take the Sandstone Needle, of course, and bottom the rest of it, play the Sandstone Needle. My opponent takes his turn, plays the Glimmer Post, gains a bit more life, plays an Aven Riftwatcher. Aven Riftwatcher is actually not bad. It's just a solid blocker, and it's something where if this game goes long, he's going to take it over with his Rebel Engine by just tutoring up Aven Riftwatchers at the end of my turn, just to function as blockers, and also just something where it's going to gain him a lot of life. It can basically make it so that the turn I go off, even if I tap him down with Giga Drowse, it won't matter. He'll still be able to survive that turn, even if I tap down everything he has and I Bushwhacker him, he goes to like 2 life. If he untaps, then him having Holy Light's going to be really, really unfortunate. So it still gives him that life cushion that he can actually use to get an extra draw step and an extra untap out of it. So he plays the Riftwatcher, which is pretty sweet. I like the Riftwatcher. I take the 1, he passes back to me, and I get a Preordain, which honestly is a little bit of a bummer. Ideally it's going to be something where I would find another ritual. It's really what I was hoping for, because right now I can't storm out and kill him. Since he has 25 life and a blocker right there, that means that I have to get my storm count up to, I have to get my storm count pretty darn high to be able to kill him. It's pretty crappy. I need to get it up to, so I'm kind of blanking on this. I think I need to get it up to, it's so hard when I have to like actually try and do math when I'm like trying to actually do this daily thing at the same time and like talk over it. But it just sucks. I'm going to need to get a storm count of, I think 7 is kind of the magic number. So that means quite a few spells before I actually go off. So I draw that Preordain. That kind of sucks. Moving forward, I go ahead and I sack that land, seeing a Preordain on top and then a Ponder on top, and I bottom both of them, and that gets me a Lotus Petal, which is awesome. It's a ritual that I was looking for. So I go ahead and throw that out there. So there's the Rite of Flame, putting me at 3 spells. There's a Ponder. And it was something where I really needed to find good stuff off of this Ponder. And, luckily I did. I found something that was going to help me produce 2 mana. A Seething Song would have done about the same thing. Or let's say if I was able to find a I think another Rite of Flame would have done it as well. So there are a number of cards there that would have been pretty sweet. But I see this, and I do the math, and find that it's going to be perfectly acceptable. So I go ahead and put those on top in that order. Allows me to get the other Desperate Ritual, sack the Petal so that I can actually go ahead and do this Splice action here, which is what makes this all work and helps me get up to enough mana. So there, it gets me up to 6. Cast Empty the Warrens. for a whole ton of goblins, 14. And then I'm able to bushwhacker. So even though he's gained 5 life and he has a blocker, it is just not relevant. I still get to go ahead and just murder the crap out of him. So that was match 1, game 2, the sideboarded game, where I actually had 2 blank draw steps. I had 2 Empty the Warrens in my hand that did absolutely nothing that game, and I still got there. And, I mean, as you can kind of see, it was on the back of the card quality that I was able to manufacture for myself using the cheap cantrips, Ponder and Preordain. So go ahead and join me in round 2 in probably something like 20 minutes when I crush my next opponent with this really, really amazing machine. All right, I'll talk to you guys then.